Islam. It's a word we hear all the time, right? But what does it actually mean for the 2 billion people who follow it? In this explainer, we're going to look past the headlines and dig into the core beliefs and practices of one of the world's most influential faiths.
Okay, let's just start with a number that's kind of impossible to ignore. 2 billion. That's how many Muslims there are in the world today. It makes Islam the world's second largest religion. And not just that, it's also the fastest growing.
But that huge number brings up a really interesting question, doesn't it? For a faith that's followed by nearly a quarter of all people on Earth, why is it so often misunderstood? To figure that out, we need to go right to the source and see what it's really all about.
To really get a handle on Islam, you've got to start with its core beliefs, and that begins with the meaning of the word Islam itself.
The name itself tells you so much. The word Islam comes from Arabic root words that mean both peace and submission. So for believers, the whole idea is that the path to finding true inner peace comes from submitting to God's will.
So, who is this God? Well, you'll hear the word Allah, but here's the thing you absolutely have to know. That is simply the Arabic word for God. It's not a different deity. It's the exact same God worshipped by Christians and Jews. In fact, if you're a Christian or Jew who speaks Arabic, you also use the word Allah.
These core beliefs are organized into what are called the 6 articles of faith. Think of them as the bedrock of a Muslim's entire worldview. It includes belief in one God, belief in angels, and belief in holy books. And not just the Quran, but also the Torah and the Gospel. And crucially, it also includes belief in all the prophets, in a final day of judgment, and in this balance between a divine plan and our own free will.
And that point about the prophets, it's huge because it shows just how much shared heritage there is. See, Muslims don't just believe in the Prophet Muhammad. Their faith actually requires them to believe in a whole line of messengers you'd recognize, figures like Abraham, Moses, and even Jesus. In this tradition, Muhammad is seen as the final messenger, often called the seal of the prophet.
So that's what Muslims believe. But how does that actually play out in daily life? Well, that's where the 5 pillars come in. These are the core duties that really structure the life of a practicing Muslim. These 5 pillars are the foundational acts that give a real rhythm to a Muslim's life. It all starts with the declaration of faith. Then you have the 5 daily prayers, annual charity, fasting during the holy month of Ramadan, and, for those who are able, a once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage to Mecca.
So it's really crucial to see these pillars as more than just a list of rituals. They are the bridge between belief and action. They're the practical framework that helps a Muslim live out their faith day in and day out.
Okay, let's switch gears a little. We're going to tackle some of the most common questions, and let's be honest, some of the biggest misconceptions about Islam, and see if we can get some clear answers.
There is probably no word more loaded than this one. So when we talk about jihad, what does it actually mean according to Islamic texts?
Well, its literal meaning in Arabic is to strive or to struggle. This striving can be completely internal, the personal struggle to be a better person, or it can be external, like a struggle against injustice. That popular idea of holy war is a very narrow and often just plain incorrect interpretation.
And in fact, Islamic teachings are very, very clear on this. Forcing someone to convert is forbidden. As this text shows, the whole idea of violence against innocent people is considered a foreign concept to Islam and is wholly forbidden. Pretty straightforward. All right, another big question people often have is about the division within Islam. You've probably heard of the 2 main branches, Sunni and Shia. Their split goes all the way back to a historical disagreement over who should lead the community.
So here's the breakdown. After the Prophet Muhammad died, the Sunni majority believed the new leader should be elected from among his close companions. The Shia minority, on the other hand, believed that leadership should have stayed within the Prophet's family, starting with his cousin Ali. That's the core historical difference. Today, Sunnis make up nearly 90% of Muslims, with Shia making up about 10 to 13%.
So what does this global community of 2 billion people actually look like today? The answer might really surprise you, because the reality is so much more diverse than the common stereotypes would have you believe.
Just take a look at this. This chart completely shatters one of the biggest stereotypes about Islam. You see that slice for the Middle East and North Africa? That's only about 20% of the world's Muslims. The largest concentration, over 30%, is actually in South Asia. And get this, the single country with the most Muslims isn't in the Middle East at all. It's Indonesia.
And that brings us to a critical distinction. Arab and Muslim are not the same thing. Not even close. In fact,
Arabs make up only about 20% of the global Muslim population. Islam is a profoundly multi-ethnic and multicultural faith. And of course, this massive, diverse community is a vital part of our modern world. Just like followers of any other major faith, Muslims are woven into every part of society. They're driving cars, using smartphones, voting in elections. They're scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, innovators, you name it, contributing to their communities all across the globe.
Which brings us right back to where we started. For a faith of 2 billion people, a faith that is built on concepts of peace and submission, what becomes possible when we finally choose understanding over assumption?